Hey, what's going on? Listen, today we're going to be talking about the simplest way to get promoted. I'm going to give a quick framework that can help you get promoted, what I believe can help you get promoted multiple times over and over. So, listen, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the show. This is Vincent City, and let's get into it. All right, promotions. Everybody needs a promotion, right? Everybody wants a promotion. It's the way of the world when it comes down to these corporate settings, whatever the environment is. If you're working a job, the way you get more money is you get promoted. I think we all understand that. Where I think there's a lot of confusion and a lot of different information being said, and a lot of it's correct and some of it's incorrect, but I think it's applicable depending on the situation. And so, what I want to do now is give something that I believe is more general in speaking and more like here's a framework we can apply over and over and over and over again. And this is more of what I think about, or what I think of as a method of operation, something that you would be able to do all the time, not just when I'm trying to get promoted. Because when I think about promotions, they, to me, in my opinion, they really are a process and not necessarily an event. And when you have the process mentality, you understand the work that goes into it. And you realize when it's a process, I'm actually preparing for an event. It's like I'm training for something. Whereas when you're only worried about the event, you're just going to show up at that moment in time and you only think about it when the event happens. So from a mentality standpoint, I like to put it to a place where we could think about it as as an event. I mean, as a process, not an event. So let me go into the tactics and to the strategies that I believe are beneficial for you to think of this as a process and think of it as a framework. And I want to, again, I think it's simple. I'm hoping that you think it's simple as well. So the first thing that I think about that always stays on my mind that I know is necessary for promotion, you have to develop skill. You have to be developing your skills always and all the time. And what I like to do is I like to break that up into what they may call a hard skill and a soft skill. And I don't like saying soft because soft skills a lot of times are really, really important. But I think about it as you could call it a technical skill and a human skill. And the technical skill is when I think about a skill with a thing, and then a human skill, I think about a skill where how do I become, how am I more influential with humans? How do I work better with people? At all times, in my opinion, you should be working to develop on both ends of that spectrum. And I believe you do one at a time. And so, for example, I would say communication as a soft skill. There's so many different areas with communication, though. So it's very, very broad, but I would drill down to communication. Say, how do I communicate better with senior level managers? How do I understand that? How do I connect more with employees? Depending on your role and your position, it will dictate the type of communication that you need to do. Like, let's say if you maybe a project manager or a product manager, and you communicate with people who are more technical than you. Well, I would maybe work on understanding how do I communicate with someone who has a more technical background, who speaks in more technical terminology. So I understand that. A really big one that people always talk about from a technical aspect. So let's go to the technical side of it is what tools are you going to utilize in your job day in and day out? What tools will you work with the most? And say, am I really, really good at using these tools? That's a really great question. Sometimes your jobs require you to use different tools. And you need to be able to say, okay, well, if at this job, I need to be proficient using this tool. And an example I can give is, some people's jobs, I don't know, maybe most jobs or even life, being really good or having a good baseline foundation of using Excel or Google Sheets, that can take you a long way, can do a lot for you. But a lot of times we don't always know that right away, or we may be in one job where we don't need it and we come into it and say, oh, wow, I can use this skill. Working on that and getting better with using Excel or Sheets, being more advanced there and taking your time, that can be a skill that you can use repeatedly in professional and in personal life. So those are two examples that I would use to say, let me develop my skills. And I would get, granular, a little bit more focused on the technical side of it. And, again, with the technical side, I would say something like, if I have a certain tool that I'm going to use, maybe it makes sense for me to be really proficient in that tool. And then on the soft skill side of it, I talk about communication a lot because I think it's something that you always will work on. How could I focus in and be a little bit more specific? Is it communicating with higher level execs? Is it being able to give a better presentation? Is it being able to communicate better via email? Right? It's all of these different things that you put together. The point of this point, the point of this is that, number one, always grow skills. Keep growing your skill set from technical to soft or human skills. Keep growing that over and over and over and over again, repeatedly. It's important. The next thing I think that's important when it comes down to promotions, excuse me, when it comes down to getting a promotion is working on the right projects. You are looking to position yourself to work on things that are important to the business. And you may say, hey, well, I've got my day-to-day work. How do I work on projects? Because I'm not a project working person. If you're in that boat, what I would recommend is really to connect, understand how your day-to-day work ties into the priorities of the business, and then show it. Be able to work with people who are on that who are on that project, who maybe you're not on the project, but you're working to do things that actually help the project. I would show it to the people who are working on that project, because you're just looking to say, how do I tie in what I do and make sure what I do is important? And if you are someone who's working on projects, I would also make sure I'm looking at things and really understanding the landscape of the business and understanding, hey, is this important now? Because it was important a year ago, but I don't know if it's as important now as it was a year ago. The other piece about the projects and working on what's important is really, can you understand what moves the needle for the business? Do you understand the priorities of the business? And maybe you're not working on those today, but do you mentally know what they are? Because if you do, you can start to find some connection, some correlation of what you're doing to what's the most important thing. So summing this point up, it's really, how do you connect your work to what's the most important thing of the business? And there's also potential to say, maybe the way I'm working or what I'm working on, I can pivot and change that to align myself and my work with what's most important. That's something I think is critical as well. And again, this is dependent upon the type of job that you do. But it makes sense to me to be able to understand the company's priorities and figure out some type of way for yourself. How can you align yourself with the company's priorities as far as what they want to accomplish? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because the people who get the biggest form of recognition or get to be thought of as the go-tos within teams or organizations, they're always working on what's important. You will always find them working on the most important thing. So if that's always the case, then it makes sense that there's some kind of connection to where the top people or working on the top priorities. And it's not by accident that that happens. So if those are the things that are going on, it makes sense for you and for me to say, am I working on the top priorities? If not, how do I align myself to make sure that I am in the future? Now, the third point, or the third thing I think that makes getting promoted repeatedly simple, again, in my opinion, not easy, but simple. Instead of doing 10,000 things, we're looking at 3 things. So that's what simplicity is. This is still going to require work, still going to require effort. And for some of you, it may be more difficult than others. The third piece that I'll throw in here is meeting with the people who are the decision makers in your next step for your promotion. Usually when it comes down to getting promoted, it's not up to just one person alone. It has to get approved by several people. Well, usually the person who is closest to you knows you the most, knows about your work the most, probably is the one who is most in your favor, while the others have to be told about you, have to understand the story. They got a backstory. What's this? What's going on? What do they do? Who is this person? They got to find all this stuff out. Well, to simplify all of that, if you know you're up for promotion and you know the 3 or 4 people who have input as to if you're able to get a promotion or who have to sign off on your promotion, it just makes sense to talk to those people, have conversations, set up meetings and calls. You might be saying, well, what am I supposed to talk to them about? The projects that you're working on. See, that's the reason why we align ourselves with the top priority of projects. Because if it's a top priority for the business, guarantee you when you talk to them, it's a top priority for them as well. So now when you have these conversations, you can talk about those projects. You can talk about the progress of them. You can get feedback. You can ask, how am I doing with them? You can also put input to where, what do you think should be done next? You need a great place to give your own personal ideas and input. It's the right way to meet with those who are decision makers, because just meeting to talk and brown nose and get to know one another, that's fine. But it's even better when you can mix that with talking about the business's projects, which are the priorities of the company. And more than likely, those priorities are more important to them than they are to you, because they're closer to it, top of mind for them. It has a bigger impact for them. So of course, they want to know thoughts. How's the progress? Is it working? Is it not working? What should we do better? What's more important? All of those things. And now, if you can do that and meet with them and have some type of cadence, maybe it's monthly. Weekly is probably too much, depending upon schedules and everything like that. But monthly probably is pretty good. And when you go to the meeting, come with 2 or 3 points, suggestions, recommendations, or questions. Show up prepared. Don't just show up and say, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's okay. It's doing this, it's doing that. Nope, not doing that. Want to go to the meeting and say, I'm working on this activity. Want to get your feedback on it. I think we should be doing X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z will take X amount of time. The only barriers or challenges to it are 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you agree? Do you disagree? That's all you need. That's it. You do that on a repetitive weekly, not weekly, but maybe bi-weekly, at least monthly, if you can get monthly. You do that on a recurring basis. When it comes time for you to get your promotion or you're up for promotion, it's easier because they say, oh yeah, I know them. We talk a lot. I expected this from them. I expected them to want to be able to make this next move. We had a conversation about this in one of the times that we were talking. Yeah, I get it. Oh, okay. I understand. It's a lot easier at that point for them to make that decision. A lot easier to get promoted. That's my 3 tips, y'all. It's simple. Now, don't get it twisted. I can go deeper and I can get it way, way more complex. But I want to keep this simple, mainly because the complexities and the nuances, they are specific to individuals. It's very hard to give specific nail down advice without knowing the context around the situation. These simple steps are what I think and believe it to be the simplest way to be able to get promoted throughout your career multiple times over and over and over again. They're meant to be repeated. And they're simple, but they are not easy. It's not easy to stay up at night and read a book to develop your soft skills, or to practice communicating when you've been communicating one way. It's not easy to work on your written communication and make sure it sounds more professional, or it sounds like the title that you aspire to be. It's not easy to learn this technical stuff. It's hard to follow the trends of how technology changes every single month, it seems like. It's not easy to get on these projects. And these projects aren't easy as well. They're difficult. It's not easy work. It's simple, but it's not easy. It can be hard to get in front of the people that are going to influence whether or not you're able to get promoted. It can be hard to prep for those conversations. Those conversations can be hard. They can grill the crap out of you and tell you your recommendations are off and you don't make any sense and this project sucks. And they'll do it with a blink of an eye like nothing. Again, this is hard stuff that we're trying to do. And that's the reason why I want to simplify it for you. Because if you can stay the path of those 3 areas from a general perspective and then start to nail some things down, you put yourself in a much better position than most people, because most people will not do this. I hope this was helpful for you. Like, subscribe, follow, do all of that if you like this and you want more. If you need to go deeper, have some one-on-one attention, or get to the specific nuances of your situation, click the link and you'll be able to reach out from there. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you in the next one.